Okay, it's day 2 with my trays, and I have my origami tray. It's leather hard now. I can still move it, right? But it's a lot stiffer. So I want to work on cleaning these edges up. A great way to clean the edges up actually is with with the scrapey tool, and I can take it and just go through and scrape the edges. I know it looks like you're messing it up, but you can just go through like this, and then you can take your credit card and scrape all those extra stuff off. So I scrape down like this, and then I scrape at an angle and scrape at an angle. If you're in school, you can use your wooden tool like this, and so you can go through and scrape, and I'll put more of these out. I'll see if I have some more to put on the tables. So again, I went through like this, and it takes probably more time to clean it up than it does to make it. The other thing that I'm going to do is I cut a sponge, and I got it wet and cut it, so a little bit of your sponge off. And you can go through and kind of clean it like this, but what happens when you wet it is the little particles of clay kind of stick up. So then I'll let it dry and I'll push it in again. So I'm going straight down, and then this angle and this angle. So now I'm going to go through and clean everything up, and I'm not going to blend this. Part of the beauty of the origami dish is that you can really see how it was put together. So in some cases, I'll go through and I'll really kind of straighten that out and clean that up so it looks good. All right, I'll do that now. Okay, I've been working on this. I actually still have a little more to go, but I just want to talk a little bit about the sponge. So it's not very wet, and it seems to be working pretty well just to go through a couple times. So you don't want to get this all wet so it flops all over the place. And then this worked great. You know, these tools are new to me, so this is the one I sharpened. So that worked great to get in here and to kind of go around like this. And then the credit card for smoothing. And the areas where I just have a little more to work is the bottom. You can see it's just a little rough. So I'm going to continue doing that. Your other dishes. So this one, I'm not going to smooth the inside because it's textured. So what I'm going to do is the same thing to the edges. I'm going to scrape through the edges. And if you don't have this or you lost it, you can use your credit card or a popsicle stick. So you don't have to use the same tools that I did. So I'm just kind of going like this and just keep scraping it. Scraping it until it looks good. And then when I flip this over to protect the corners, I'm going to again use balled up newspaper. Now I did try a towel, and it worked okay. You know, at home if you don't have newspaper and you need to use a towel, you can just ball up that towel so it doesn't get those edges. At school, we have foam that I bought just off of Amazon, and so that works great. So I can kind of go around like this. So I'm going to clean up that one, and then I'm also going to clean up this one. And remember, clean up, you have to make sure it's leather hard and really clean it up really well. All your dishes need to be cleaned up, and then we'll talk about feet. Okay, if you get this clay before it's too hard, you can ball it back up. Now I'm gonna go dip this in water. So about this wet, and then I'm going to grab my extra clay. And you can dip this again the next day if you want to. And I'm gonna put it in with my extra clay like this. Sometimes I'll also poke holes in it with a pencil and spray a little bit of water in there. Get some water in there and then really wrap it up. If your plastic's starting to tear a little bit, you can use your white bag. And so now I'm gonna let that sit overnight, and if it still feels hard, then I'll add little bits of water, just 1 drops at a time. And I can scrape this off and put that into the garbage and then wash this off and we're good to go. Okay, so the cleanup is pretty messy. I did all 3 at one time. So you guys will just be doing probably 1 at a time, so it probably won't be quite as messy. But if you don't clean up your mat, you're gonna get all those little things that stick to your piece. And so try to brush those off. Sometimes a dry paintbrush works to get all those little things out of there. And set your projects to the side. And then what I'm gonna do is take my credit card and really clean all this stuff up. If you guys are here, these crumbs that I've been scraping right here can go into the sink. But at home, they cannot go into your sink. So what you're gonna do is take all these crumbs that I've scraped away and they're gonna go into the trash. So sometimes what I do is I'll take this stuff, you can dip them in water and see if you can get them soft again, put them in a little sandwich baggie. Otherwise, what you're gonna do, because this is leather hard clay, is you're gonna take it like this, so you're not creating dust, and pick up all those crumbs, and then that's gonna go out into your yard or into the trash. Remember, clay is just earth, so the rain will wash it down and it'll kind of combine with the dirt. Okay, once you have that, if you have any, sometimes I'll take soft clay and I'll just roll up all the crumbs. And this is so we don't create dust. So I'll just keep rolling them up, and then you can brush your mat off, and then you can go and get your sponge wet and then clean up. Now your tools, again, these crumbs, you're gonna scrape off and put with your other crumbs, and then you can also clean off your tools. You guys at school have your own little set of tools, so you gotta keep them clean. You don't get new tools just because yours are dirty. Okay, it's a good idea to keep your area nice and clean. Try to get all those crumbs back into the garbage. So again, cleanup is really messy. It's probably messier than working with clay, but it's going to pay off when you have your dish all looking good. And you can also burnish it with your thumb. Go through, just kind of dip your thumb in water, and I think you're gonna really like cleaning these dishes up. All right, next up we have feet. Okay, after finishing, next up we are going to be putting feet on. So I'm going to show you a couple different styles of feet, and then of course you can pick your own. So for this one, I'm just going to show you kind of a classic foot. So I'm going to roll a coil. Remember, with rolling coils, what I'm doing is taking it and pulling out. Starting in the middle and pulling out. I'm going to be pinching this, so it's okay if it's fairly thick. I want to give it just a little bit of height. Now my pot is leather hard, and so I can probably flip it over without damaging these corners, but you might want to use a towel or a balled up something. You know, I also have foam here for students to use, but at home you should maybe find something that you can use. Okay, I'm gonna need my slip. Now my slip was a little dry, so I added a little bit of slip to it. And so I'm stirring my slip, right, to get it nice and goopy. And so now I'm gonna take and, you know, this is a bigger one. You guys have your little ones, but you really need to make sure you score. Score, score, score. Now I'm gonna put the coil on so you can see how hard that is. So now I'm gonna take and add slip, whether you use your brush or popsicle stick is up to you. And now I'm gonna take this and score the side. I kind of flattened it a little bit, just flattened it a tiny bit, and I'm gonna score this. And I'm gonna cut it at an angle. Then when I put it on here, what I'm gonna do is push down. So I'm kind of pinching it as I put it on there so that I make sure it really is nice and attached. So now I cut it at this angle so that they fit together, and I'm going to take and just put a little slip in here to make sure it's nice and connected, and I'm going to go around again and sort of pinch it out. I pinched it in a little bit. I'm going to go around and kind of pinch it out. Because you want a stable foot. You don't want that foot to go in. You want it to hold up your pot. And I could keep doing this and keep going through and really making that look good. But one thing that I like to do is to take my popsicle stick and push it down and give it a little bit of a decorative edge and a separation from the pot. And then I can go around and kind of clean this stuff up. But lastly, you can see the foot on the bottom. Lastly, you have to make sure that it stands okay. So I'm going to turn it over and level it out and kind of push it down. Make sure it's the way I want it to be, and then I can go back through and clean that up. Mask on. So you can take a little more time and clean this up. You know, I could take and smooth this out just a little bit more, but you need to make sure you sign it. So now if you have your stamps back, because it's leather hard, I'm just going to take a little ball of clay. And I think I'll use my skewer. Put a couple marks in there just to rough up the surface. Tiny bit of slip. And then I'm going to put my ball on top of there, like that. And then I'm going to take my stamp, and I have my stamp marked with what side is up. You can certainly do that with a pencil or a pen. And I just rock it back and forth. And now I have my signature, my S on there, and I'm ready to take a picture and turn it in. Now for pictures, make sure you guys are taking a picture so that I can see what you did with the foot. So you can take one from this angle, and then you can take one from the top if you want. Okay, for this foot, I'm going to do 4. And you need to make sure that they are out far enough that it doesn't tip over. So you obviously can't do just 2 feet. You have to do 4, or on something, like a round one, I could do 3. But when I have corners, it makes sense to do 4. And you can see that I don't have them just in here. I have them pushed out to the edge. So now that I have them marked, I'm going to take some clay and I'm going to roll 4 balls of clay. And you want to get these fairly the same size so that all your feet are similar in size. Now, another way that you could do it is you could cut these in half and just do 4 little ball feet. And the reason we cut it in half is so that it has a good attachment. But for this one, I'm going to actually shape them so that they're little pointy feet. Trying to get them to be little towers that look alike. And if one looks a little big, you can certainly take some off. Okay, so now that I have my 4 feet on there, I've already scored, so I'm going to slip. And because it's leather hard, really hard leather hard, I'm going to scrape it on there. So that I soften that clay a little bit. Put it on here. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my tongue depressor and again push down to really get these attached. Okay, what I did here is I flipped it over and I took my tongue depressor and kind of pushed down on the feet. So you can see they have kind of an interesting attachment and made them 5-sided, a pentagon. I think I did that to all of them. I did. And so now I'm going to sign it, but one thing I did is turned it over and leveled it, and then you also have to be careful of these corners. So with these corners, I did not use foam and I did not rest on anything, so they flattened a little bit. So I'm going to go through and take a sponge and really clean up this edge before I'm done with it, and then I'm going to sign it. Okay, so now I'm done with this. I cleaned up the edge one last time. I smoothed it out, I signed it, I leveled it, made sure it looks the way I want to from the side view, made sure those feet are the way I wanted it to, and I'm good to turn it in. Okay, one more option for a foot. I have this long tray. It looks kind of like I said, a sushi tray. I have the edges smooth. I think it's the way I want it to be. But I want to do slab feet, which I haven't done before. So what I'm going to do is cut this in half and then decide how tall I want it and cut it in half again and then flip it over so that the other side, and I flattened out the slab to be about the thickness of the pot. So now I have 2 slabs here. I'm deciding how big I want the feet to be. So about here, credit card. Now that just pushed those together a little bit, but I think I'll be able to separate it. So now I have my 2 slab feet, but I need to cut it with an arc so that it fits on the pot. And it doesn't have to be exact, but I'm putting the mirror image so that I can see if I can get that to be fairly similar. Okay, when you have more detailed cuts to make, you can use your pin tool, you can use your paper clip, or you can use your toothpick. I'm going to use my pin tool. These actually might be just a tad tall, but that's okay. So now I have scored this where I want the feet to be. And then I am going to slip. I'm going to score. Now I didn't get that arc exactly, but I'm just going to push it down a little bit. And really make sure that that's attached. So I have it on a paper form, so you have to use some force. Now I'm going to spend a little time cleaning this up and leveling it, and then I'll show you again. Okay, I've leveled it. These are still really soft, so I might wrap it up and let it sit overnight before I turn it in so I can really make sure that they're nice and level and clean them up. But now I have my tray with my slab feet on there. And you can see they need to be cleaned up a little bit. So it's not a bad idea to wrap this up and let it sit in your bag for a night and then turn it in. Okay, you know the next question. What if I did a spiral? What if I did flower feet? What if I made my feet into something? What if my dish sat on a snake? All these things are okay. It's really up to you to determine. I just wanted to show you some techniques that I've learned over the years, and it's up to you to decide what you want to do next. What if I put 10 feet on my piece? What if I lined these all up and they looked like a little wall? So it's up to you. Good luck. Have fun.